Now, I want you to imagine this scenario. Imagine you were born yesterday, but you were born and you could speak, you could talk, you could walk, right? You were born like a capable person. And then this person comes up to you and says, welcome to the world, David. Welcome to the world, Jennifer. I've got a contract here and you need to sign this contract right now. And he said, what's the contract? And they put the contract down and they said, you're going to pay me $200,000 over the course of your lifetime. I'm going to steal your energy. I'm going to steal your health. I'm going to steal your family. I'm going to steal everything from you. And I'm going to put you in a grave 20 years early. And guess what I'm going to give you in return? Nothing. And the individual looks at you in the eyes and says, yeah, just sign on the dotted line. Why not? Everybody else does it. You know, you don't want to be the only one that doesn't spend all this money and you know, you can't be the only one, surely. And you're like, is this really the world that I'm getting born into? Like, what are you talking about? He says, yeah, everybody does it. Don't worry about it. And then you look past the guy and you see a Rolls Royce, you see a Lamborghini, you see a beautiful home, you see a beautiful family, and you ask him, well, do you drink that stuff? He goes, no, of course not. You're thinking, what is going on here? Now, I know it's a bit of a silly scenario, but would you sign that piece of paper?
Talk to me about your relationship with alcohol and how it's changed.
I pretty much barely drink anymore. I used to drink numerous times per week. There was always at least one extremely heavy blowout at the weekend.
What is going on here?
When you're having 15 or 20 drinks a week, you're pretty much constantly in a state of being either drunk or hungover.
If you really like alcohol, it does two things to you. It makes you more extroverted and enthusiastic and more full of positive emotion. And the second thing it does is reduce anxiety.
Alcohol targets mitochondria. Alcohol poisoning is due to mitochondrial disruption and impairment.
There were times I was like, man, I could never be a sober person.
It was just alcohol for me always. If you took something fun, alcohol made it more fun. And if you took something boring, it made it less boring.
So when somebody dies of alcohol poisoning, the cause of death is poisoning the mitochondria.
The one thing that always knocks me off track the most, it's always alcohol.
Most people are drastically underestimating its impact.
Right now, as we speak, at least 1 in 10 Americans meets the criteria for either alcohol abuse or alcohol dependence, which we now call alcohol use disorder.
We were on to like 2 or 3 glasses a day, then half a bottle, and it just went really fast.
Alcohol it's a hell of a drug, man.
When it comes to quitting drinking, one of the challenges many people face is the influence of their social circle. If someone's friend group consists of heavy drinkers, it can make it incredibly difficult to maintain sobriety. The peer pressure, normalization of excessive alcohol consumption, and fear of missing out on social activities can create a constant temptation and undermine an individual's efforts to quit. Breaking away from such friend groups or finding new, supportive social networks becomes crucial in providing the necessary environment for sustained recovery and personal growth.
If you're trying to get your life together, and your friends get in the way, that's actually real useful for you because you've now identified who your friends aren't. And you might think, well, I can't give them up. It's like, oh yes, you can. And not only can you should, and it would be better for them. Because if they're aiming down and they want you going down with them, there's nothing good about what's happening to them, and there's certainly nothing good about that for you.
Similar to quitting smoking, the body can heal, but it takes time. In this next clip, Mark Manson, author of The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, addresses his relationship with alcohol. Despite being a heavy drinker for most of his life, he made the decision to quit completely. While attempting to moderate his alcohol intake, Mark experienced prolonged negative effects, feeling physically and emotionally drained. Effects that are common after a blackout night, but were surprising to him after a simple glass of wine or 2 with dinner.
You know, if you've been a heavy drinker for multiple years, it can take 6 to 12 months for your system to actually entirely reset. For your brain to go back to the way it was, your internal organs to go back to the way they were. And I was like, God damn, I've been doing this basically since I was like 18. Half my life, almost 2 decades. Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible. It was, I'd say, within a few weeks, waking up with more energy, sleeping like a baby. You know, and one of the things, you know, I had cut back quite a bit before I quit completely. I'd say I'd cut back to drinking maybe 2-3 times a month. And when I drank, it was like just 2 or 3 glasses of wine. And it's funny, like I feel like something you notice when you cut back that you don't notice when you keep drinking heavily. Like when you drink heavily, you just expect to feel like shit. So when you feel like shit, you're like, oh yeah, well, of course I drank a lot. But when you drink very moderately, it actually showed me how much it affects you. Like I would go out and have 2 glasses of wine with dinner, and not only would I feel maybe 20% worse the next day, I would feel 10% worse the day after that. And that was shocking to me. I was like, whoa, this is actually it's not about hangovers. It's about just general lack of energy and motivation on a day-to-day basis, and it lasts for multiple days.
There's no hiding the fact that alcohol is a drug. It's a legal drug, accepted by society, that rakes in billions of dollars a year. It's also well known that alcohol is harmful, especially in large quantities and over long periods of time. Why do millions of people continue consuming a poisonous substance?
For the most part, people consume alcohol in order to get the net effect on the brain. The overwhelming majority of people who consume alcohol, it's to help unwind or, celebrate the end of a day, or it's hard to deal with the stress at the end of the day. It's usually a mechanism to take you out of a less ideal place and bring you into a more relaxed, ideal place.
Alcohol really is a good drug for coping with anxiety. That's why people use it. So it does two. If you really like alcohol, it does two things to you. It makes you more extroverted and enthusiastic while you're on the ascending limb of the blood alcohol curve, which is why you have to keep drinking once you start. Because if you plateau, that goes away. So you got to keep drinking. Okay, so that's one thing. It makes you more enthusiastic and more full of positive emotion. And the second thing it does is reduce anxiety. And so if you are a bit more socially anxious, and you also have that positive response to alcohol, which everyone doesn't have, by the way, then it's a great drug. But the problem is, it's a great drug for the moment.
Right.
Right, there's consequences.
Alcohol, unlike other nutrients, cannot be efficiently metabolized by the human body to extract energy. Instead, the body treats alcohol as a toxin, triggering a cascade of processes to eliminate it. From the moment alcohol enters the bloodstream, it affects not only the liver, but also the entire body system. It disrupts the balance of neurotransmitters, impairs cognitive function, compromises the immune system, and places strain on various organs, leading to a wide range of negative health consequences that extend far beyond the liver.
When you take a step back, when you look at the big picture of life, cells in the human body are all there to perform a function, but they all need nutrients. They need nutrients to replace the parts that need to be replaced. Without nutrients, you're dead. In order to understand why cells in the human brain or body malfunction, we have to go all the way to the basics of biology, which is every living cell at the end of the day depends on metabolism or energy. And it's the only way to connect the dots.
This is a gross oversimplification of nutritional biochemistry. Essentially, we can look at most of at least macro nutrition, not micronutrition, but macronutrition. In other words, the things that we consume that give us energy. And there are three primary sources of macronutrients. There are protein, fats, and carbs. And the challenge with ethanol or alcohol is that when alcohol comes into our nutritional equation, there's nowhere for it to go. The liver is responsible for detoxifying the alcohol that we ingest.
Alcohol consumption, even in the low amounts, causes harm to the entire body.
So many years that the narrative was for me is this has a hold over you. You will never break this cycle. You are a prisoner of your own weakness.
Addiction is really anything we do or use compulsively to make ourselves feel better that has negative consequences.
I, for maybe the first time, am proud of myself that I didn't quit quitting, because it's demoralizing. To truly be powerless over something is fucking demoralizing. It's so rough.
If you stop drinking for 30 days, just cut back, and what they're finding is people are living longer. That's clearing out their kidneys. Arterial sclerosis is being reversed. People are having all kinds of more energy. They're losing weight.
I started to drink more and more and more every day. And I come home from work and I start to drink, and I just sit there and drink till I pass out on the couch.
To keep it simple, we use for one or two reasons. So to either start feeling something or to stop feeling something.
It can pass into all the cells and tissues of your body.
Alcohol is normalized in our society.
I recall in high school, the motivational speakers would come to my school and say, don't do drugs. But absent from those talks was any reference to alcohol.
It is ingrained. It's the social glue that sticks everything together.
And my mom was chiming in with, it's way bad, you don't want to do it, you don't want to end up like that.
Over 3 million people worldwide will die this year to alcohol-related causes.
From baby showers, christenings, Freshers' Week, weddings, parties, funerals, barbecues, celebrations, and everything in between.
So she's in my ear making it sound really logical to not do it, and I'm watching people act a fool who are doing it.
We've been brainwashed into thinking that there are just two types of drinkers. There are those at rock bottom, alcohol dependent, and there's everybody else, happy, social drinkers who are just occasionally a bit lightweight and can't hold their beer.
You do stupid things when you're drunk. You hurt yourself, you compromise your health. It's really hard on the people around you. You tend to turn into a liar, and it screws up your life.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, but it's pretty fun. Yeah, well, it is, but you need something better than that.
In fact, the reality is very different. It's a spectrum. I would highly recommend you get off the booze elevator before it hits rock bottom.
You know, now we're about a year and a half later, and my life has turned around immeasurably. It's a wonderful thing.
And what's better isn't being straight and not making mistakes. It's like that's all prohibition in some sense. What's better is, no, you need an adventure, man. You need to get out there and have something to do and something worth waking up for. And that's the substitute for the addiction.
Excessive drinking is considered 13 or more drinks a week. If you have 3 glasses of wine every night, which would be splitting a bottle of wine with your friend, your husband, whatever, you fall in that category. An alcoholic is defined as someone basically where they can't stop once they start. Often they'll drink until they pass out. Wow. Or they'll drink to where they become dysfunctional. They become the kind of person everyone goes, my God, you're slurring your words. You're not safe to drive. They get DUIs. Their boss has trouble, like you need to quit coming to work hungover. But an excessive drinker is 13. If you drink 6 drinks a week, if you're a woman, you have a 40% higher incidence of breast cancer. If you drink up to 10 drinks, it goes up to 70% higher chance of getting breast cancer. So just the health benefits. One of the things that's coming out of England is research that if you stop drinking for 30 days, just cut back, and what they're finding is people are living longer. That's clearing out their kidneys. It's arterial sclerosis is being reversed. You know, people are having all kinds of more energy. They're losing weight. Most of the things that we do that are addictions are to numb out our anxiety, to numb out our pain, to numb out the memories of trauma, to numb out our discomfort around being with people in a social situation, the fear that I won't have fun, I won't be interesting, I'm more relaxed, I'm more fun, you know, and that's the big myth, is I won't have a fun life.
A lot of aunts and uncles and second cousins and stuff that were all alcoholics, drug addicts, and watching them, I thought, ooh, that is not a good look. Some real white trashy stuff. Yeah. And so I was just like, no.
Unlike a lot of substances and drugs that actually attach to the surface of cells, to receptors, alcohol actually has its own direct effects on cells because it can really just pass into those cells. And the fact that it can pass into so many organs and cells so easily is really what explains its damaging effects. Ethanol produces substantial damage to cells because when you ingest ethanol, it has to be converted into something else because it is toxic to the body. And if you thought ethanol was bad, acetaldehyde is particularly bad. Acetaldehyde is poison. It will kill cells. It damages and kills cells, and it is indiscriminate as to which cells it damages and kills. That's a problem, obviously, and the body deals with that problem by using another component of the NAD biochemical pathway to convert acetaldehyde into something called acetate. Acetate is actually something that your body can use as fuel. And that process of going from ethanol to acetaldehyde to acetate does involve the production of a toxic molecule, right? Again, acetaldehyde is really toxic. If your body can't do this conversion of ethanol to acetaldehyde to acetate fast enough, well, acetaldehyde will build up in your body and cause more damage. So it's important that your body be able to do this conversion very quickly. And the place where it does that is within the liver. And cells within the liver are very good at this conversion process. But they are cells and they are exposed to the acetaldehyde in the conversion process. And so cells within the liver really take a beating in the alcohol metabolism events. It is the poison, the acetaldehyde itself, that leads to the effect of being inebriated or drunk. I think most people don't realize that being drunk is actually a poison-induced disruption in the way that your neural circuits work.
No amount of alcohol is safe.
Drinking alcoholic beverages can be harmful to our health.
It's the most damaging drug to society as a whole.
The danger goes up with every additional drink.
Alcohol is actually considered a class 1 carcinogen or cancer-causing agent, so that's the same category as benzene and tobacco smoke.
It is the poison, the acetaldehyde itself, that leads to the effect of being inebriated or drunk.
Canadian health authorities had previously said that a low-risk amount of alcohol was about 10 drinks per week.
Your risks start to increase at 1 standard drink per week.
Even just 7 glasses of wine across the week, there is going to be some degeneration of your brain in response to that alcohol intake.
I was wanting to be a certain person, but making all the wrong decisions.
Citing some of this research about alcohol's impacts, suggested lowering that to 2 drinks per week.
In Western cultures, alcohol is the most harmful drug overall because it's the most harmful drug to society, because it's the most widely used drug.
A very small percentage of individuals in the world can quit anything on their own.
And really, our main message is that less is better.
You know, when it comes to health, less is more.
What do we know about alcohol's impact on us?
Alcohol is one of the leading behavior-related causes of health problems and deaths, and also some social problems and economic costs, ranging from things like injuries and accidents to cancers and actually heart and cardiovascular disease.
Shoveling alcohol, hiding away the problems has been something we've become very expert at.
But the really sad statistic is that only 10% of people suffering from an alcohol use disorder seek treatment.
I hit rock bottom. I got lost in the sauce of drinking.
Out of those 10% of the people, only 1 will have any form of long-term success.
This is why I don't like alcohol, and this is why I don't like drugs, because you're not in control. A substance is doing that.
And that means 90% of people who are suffering right now aren't going to seek treatment. And you know why they're not going to seek treatment? It's because they've been told that all they can do is quit and go to meetings for the rest of their life.
And it's visceral because people don't want it to be true. So there are 2 things I would say about this. The first is both a conscious and a subconscious level. People are fearful of other drugs, illegal drugs, because it helps deflect their attention away from the problems of alcohol at a personal level, but also at a political level. Politicians love to get hysterical about a new drug because it means they can do something about drugs and they don't have to be held to account over their failure to deal with the problems of alcohol. Right. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that I would say that there's almost no family in Britain, if you look at an extended family, 3 generations, in which doesn't have someone who's been damaged by alcohol through addiction, through violence, traffic accidents, or being a victim because of someone else who was drunk and violent. Right. Almost every family in Britain is affected, but we don't own up to it. Right. We kind of push it under the carpet. We know there's a problem, but we don't talk about it because, well, we don't know what to do about it. We're embarrassed, and so that shoveling alcohol, hiding away the problems has been something we've become very expert at. We know the pharmacology of alcohol in the brain and how it does that. We can explain an enormous amount of what's going on with alcohol. Right. I mean, to me, I find that quite exciting because as a brain scientist, that's what I want to understand. I want to understand the brain, and alcohol is a very interesting probe of different brain systems, and the changes we see that underpin the effects of alcohol, are relevant to all sorts of disorders. They're relevant to disorders like sleep disorders, relevant to epilepsy, relevant to anxiety, depression. This drug, which you can just go and buy in the shops, can produce these enormous changes in people's lives.
Sometimes some habits can turn into lifestyles, and certain lifestyles don't lead to all the benefits and all the amazing things that life has to offer. Some lifestyles lead to very dark paths, depression, anxiety, stress, and if not controlled, can also lead to some of the worst case scenarios out there in life. One of them being never reaching your capacity, never really having an identity or a self-worth, losing all integrity, all dignity, and losing yourself. It went slowly from being a work hard, play hard, have a drink, to 2 drinks, to 3 drinks, to then a habit to then a daily habit to then a 24/7 habit to then a every weekend habit, getting lost in myself habit. Sometimes if you don't watch the kind of habits that you're building, they become lifestyles. Before I knew it, I was digging myself a hole, and everywhere I looked, it was so dark, and I lost myself.